EIGRP base configuration. One of Cisco's goals with EIGRP was to create an easy-to-configure routing protocol that was still feature-rific. Did a lot of the same stuff OSPF did, and I think they were totally successful and then some with it. So we're going to do a base configuration of EIGRP here. Here's our scenario. Got the corporate network on the left, whole bunch of networks over here that is just begging to be summarized, connected over some slow links over here to router 2 and router 3. Maybe this is the same office over here with a primary and a backup connection. Now I know you might be looking at those going, come on, it's the modern world. Nobody has these speed links anymore. Totally do. I'm telling you, the technology landscape has spread across the world, and we are now seeing technology bleed into areas of the world that never has before, where they don't have the infrastructure to have that. So I've seen plenty of those kind of links. I've even seen slower. I was actually in Honduras not too long ago, and I was in a dirt town, cows with ringing bells walking by, and there was an internet cafe with a 56K modem shared between 15 computers. There was awesome. So I'm sitting here at the corporate network router. First thing I'm going to do on the backbone router is I always do the show IP interface brief, get a lay of the land, and I'm going to make sure, you can see I've got my VLANs kind of simulated here. I'm going to make sure that the interfaces are set up correctly with the bandwidth statements, because our routing protocol relies heavily that we've gone in and tuned those correctly. So I'm going to interface serial 0/0, which is that top network. We'll do bandwidth 128 kilobits per second. Exit out interface serial 0/1 bandwidth, and you can see it's in kilobits per second. A lot of times Cisco will jump all over the place between bits per second, kilobits per second, megabits per second, but for the most part, it's kilobits per second, 256, right? Let's back out of this, and let's go into router, EIGRP, and then an autonomous system, number 10. Now, that number has to agree between all the routers in our system. First thing I always do, now this feature has, or I should say this feature, is that what we would call it? Command thing has not really been necessary since a lot of the iOS 15 versions, but I still type it. No auto summary. See, in their striving to make EIGRP so user-friendly, Cisco enabled auto summary, which makes it a class-full routing protocol. Not good. Not good. So they actually disabled auto summary as the default somewhere in the iOS 15 range. I can't remember the exact version, but still, make it your habit to type that in. Otherwise, you can only use one subnet mask, and anytime you cross a classful boundary, like you go from 172.30 into this 10.1 or any 10 network world, it automatically tries to summarize, which you may not want. So let's go to the network command. So I'm going to type in network, and then what network number? Now you could go the slow boat way and do 172.30.0.0 followed by a wildcard mask of 0.0.0.255, because this will actually enable it on specifically anytime you use that wildcard mask. These line up and say, okay, look at this. Look at this right here. Look at this. So specifically enable EIGRP on the 172.30.0 network. Now, if you're looking at a Cisco best practice documentation, a lot of times they'll say, do it. Go specific. Matter of fact, this one right here says, I don't care what that last digit is, because the fact is the router doesn't have an interface that's assigned 172.30.0.0. It's just connected to that network. So hang on, let me just go back here. Do show IP interface brief. See, the exact IP address of the interface is 172.30.0.1. So Cisco's best practice security-wise would be to type in network 172.30.0.10000, which says enable EIGRP exactly on that network. And then we'd go network 172.30.1.1, 2. You see where I'm going with this, right? So you could do that. Totally fine. You could also go the lazy route. You could type in network 172.30.0.0 with no wildcard mask, because 172.30 is a class B network by default. So we can type that in and just assume that it's going to sum up, or I shouldn't say sum up, but mark all of those as valid to be advertised, right? Another way to do it, you could also type in, you could go crazy here and type in network 0000 with a wildcard mask 255, 255, 255, 255. Totally not best practice from Cisco, but totally easy to enable EIGRP on every single interface of your router, because this essentially says turn on EIGRP, and then I don't care. Anyway, right? So either way, in this case, it works. So we've got EIGRP running. I'm going to do show IP protocols, and we should see that EIGRP is now enabled all over the place. These totally not necessary just there because we typed them in, because this one is allowing it to run all over the place. Okay, let's go over to router 2, right? Router 2 is in the diagram. Quick snapshot picture. There it is. Good. Router 2, I'm going to go to show IP interface brief. Let's go lazy. I'll do interface 00/0, bandwidth 128. That's not the lazy part. It's the router EIGRP 10, and I'll just do a no auto summary followed by a network 10.0.0.0. Right? Enable EIGRP on every single 10 interface. Now, oh my goodness, such a common misconception that I've seen among people first getting into Cisco. They go, okay, so that's going to advertise. So router 2 is going to say, okay, I know about the 10 network, right? It's kind of like doing some summarization. No, it is not. It's actually looking at every interface and going, okay, you start with 10, you start with 10, you start with 10, so I'm going to advertise and I'm going to send hello messages and I'm going to advertise those specific networks. It's actually sending out 3 individual network advertisements. As a matter of fact, I saw that neighbor form. Did you see it right there? Neighbor form, new adjacency, and I see all these individual networks coming from that backbone router over there, along with this little WAN link that the backbone router is advertising to us. Now, fact. Router 2 is going this way to get to that network. Not an efficient route because it actually has a better route right here. However, it doesn't know about this guy yet. There's no neighbor relationship yet. So let's fix that. Go into router 3, show IP interface brief. You can see there's my interfaces. Let's go interface 000, bandwidth 256. Got to set that accurately because that's where he's at, right? Router EIGRP 10, network. Oh, hang on. No auto. By the way, if you type that command afterwards, it actually tears down the neighbor relationships and reestablishes them. So not one to type during production. And then we'll do network, and let's do it. Let's be best practice folks, right? 10.1.2.3.0.0.0.0 network 10.1.34.2. By the way, if you're thinking exam, Cisco is not, unless they specifically say use these methods to enable the network. They're not going to be like, oh, dude, you totally didn't do it like best practice, individual networks. Look for things like, okay, enable the network in the most secure way, enable, those kind of things. Then you're like, ah, okay, I know what they're getting at, right? Sweet. So I can go in and do a show IP route. No, I can't. Right here I can, though. Show IP route. And I can see that I am getting the routing table fully from this guy. I'm also seeing, take a look at this, that I'm getting to the WAN links. Look at what interface now. Instead of going out the serial port, instead of router 3 being like, oh, I'm going to go this way. It's going to be like, no. The faster way to get there is this, because this is a 100 megabits per second connection, and you can see that the routing table accurately reflects that with the route that it's going to get to each of those networks. Now, 10. Okay, yeah, sorry, I forgot about this guy up here, right there. So you can see all of that reflected right there. Show IP route, show IP protocol, show IP EIGRP neighbors, probably the only commands that you would want to be looking for when you are testing and troubleshooting your connections. This shows the neighbors that you have formed from router 3's perspective. H stands for handle. It is the order that you form these neighbors in, nothing more. So this was the first neighbor, this was the second neighbor that you form. You can see the interface, hold time. Essentially, that is the time until they die. So if this neighbor stops saying hello right now, when I took this command, it would be 11 seconds before it would be considered dead. I've known about that neighbor for that long, which really lines up with this. You go, oh, okay, so I did learn about that 1 second, right? SRTT, source round trip timer. That's how long it takes to get from the neighbor and back. So 19 milliseconds on. How about that? Serial link, that's 256K, a little bit faster than our fast Ethernet connection. Welcome to GNS3, my friend. Then you can continue down the list, queue, how many things are sitting there waiting in queue to be sent, the sequence number of the data. Anyway, down the list we go. These are the key commands that you can use to verify that EIGRP is up and running okay. You can see my interfaces that I'm communicating on, all of that. That is the base configuration of EIGRP. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.